Hello, everyone have take a seat. Our session will start in 5 minutes. Everybody take a seat and welcome to join the staff pavilion. I'm Alan Lin, today's moderator. Yes. All right, have a seat. 这辆有摩托吧？这辆过来。那这个杯子是我等下好方便喝。等下最后要换的时候再搞。对，这样子，对。那就拉一张给我。Welcome everybody join our session. The session will start at 2 o'clock. The topic will transition to a sustainability society. 那你觉得哪一个比较好看？也不一定要问我，因为等下搞不好大家讲会讲很久，可以先问其他的。Good afternoon, everyone. Our session will start at 2 o'clock. Please have your seat. And our topic will go to the transition to a sustainability society. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Distinguished guests and speakers, welcome to our forum Transition to a Sustainability Society. As a COP30 in Belém, Brazil, the world is turning its attention to how we can accelerate net zero transformation, ensure a just transition, and strengthen the link between carbon market and the climate finance. Today, it's our honor to have 5 distinguished speakers from academic, professor and policy making and the youth organization who will share insight on carbon market, carbon pricing, NDC and green finance and open government and international cooperation. Now it's our group photo first, and then we'll go to the first speaker, the Dr. Axel Miklova. Let's have a group photo first. Please stand up and come from the stage. Yes. All the speakers, thank you. Sorry, that's too small. It's okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, if you have hand, just thumbs up. Yep. Okay. 1, 2, 3. It's okay. Okay, thank you. Let's go. Let's have a seat. Thank you. Now, I want to introduce the first speaker, Dr. X. Miklova. He is a senior founder partner from Perspective and the head of the research group, International Climate Policy. The floor is yours. Dr. X. Miklova.
Thank you. I will stand on the side that I don't block the slides. You can see everything nicely. I will talk about the international carbon markets under Article 6 and their opportunities for Taiwanese business. So here you see the history of international carbon market. I've made a curve that is like the roller coaster in the big amusement parks, because these carbon markets have had very different fates over the last 30 years. Sometimes there was exuberance, sometimes there was despair, sometimes there was just nothing. But we, as you see here in the end, are currently in an upswing. And this upswing is mostly driven by the Article 6.4 of the Paris Agreement. And I will focus on this part of the international carbon market. What you should also note, carbon markets are very shy animals. If there is a lack of trust in the carbon market, then the animal will run away. And we've seen this already the first time under the so-called clean development mechanism. It was thriving for several years, really a kind of gold rush, but then European Union didn't like it anymore because there was a lot of criticism by newspapers, NGOs, So overall, the first international carbon market mechanism failed. And then we had the second one, which was the voluntary carbon market that rose very strongly after 2019 for 3 years until 2022. But then again, and the Guardian newspapers from the UK found scandals with the biggest projects in the voluntary carbon market, and therefore the prices crashed. Some of the credits can no longer be sold at all. But now, this year, we have, after the Baku decisions, the upswing of the Article 6.4. So, Article 6 has two components. It has the bilateral approaches under Article 6.2. There, a country can do unilateral things, so it can sell emission credits to any private company, or it can collaborate with a country that needs international credits to fulfill its nationally determined contribution. And I note, of course, Taiwan has recently published its nationally determined contribution for 2035. And very important, the principles, environmental integrity and additionality, that's the one pillar. And the second pillar is transparency and prevention of double counting. Now, Article 6.4, that is the mechanism that is overviewed by the UNFCCC. It has a decision-making body called supervisory body that consists of 20 members. It has a support structure at the secretariat, experts who help writing regulatory documents. And for 1.5 years, nothing much happened. So we had the first decision on Article 6 in Glasgow in 2021, and quite strong principles were agreed, but it was unclear how they would be put into a specific regulation. And then for 2 years in a row, there was no progress on the Conference of the Parties agreeing what should be the recommendation to the supervisory body. But then suddenly in 2024, about September, 1 year ago, the Gordian knot was cut, and within very short period, critical rules were set. And these rules are really the most stringent that we've seen in the international carbon markets to date. For example, we have a methodology standard that requires that the methodologies are taking into account uncertainty properly. We have a removal standard that says any reversal of a carbon store needs to be addressed in full. Then, what was very clever, that the Azerbaijan presidency in Baku last year, on the first day already of the conference, had the conference take note of these standards. Because previously there had been negotiations on during each COP on these standards that could not conclude. But by the clever move to move this one level further down, one could actually agree on the regulation. It was very good. And now, over the course of this year, really every 2 months, very important decisions have been made. We have an additionality standard, and this additionality standard is really good. I've been working on additionality all my life, and I always found the regulations insufficient. Now the first time the regulation is good. Similarly, on the baseline. For the baseline, actually, I 4 years ago wrote a research article saying that baselines for emission reductions, they cannot go on forever. They need to be adjusted downwards. So at the year when the country where the activity is undertaken reaches net zero, then the baseline needs to be zero, because otherwise it would not be consistent with the net zero target. So I actually thought, well, my theory will not be taken very seriously, but it has become regulation. A minimum of 1% downward adjustment is now required. Similarly, now we've had a lot of debate on leakage, indirect effects, and especially for forestry. And now there is in the leakage standard for the first time a very good definition of how to treat leakage. So just 1 month ago, there was unfortunately an end of this honeymoon period, because the supervisory body had to agree on what is called reversal risk standard. So the big questions were, how long do we have to monitor a carbon stock? And the researchers say at least 100 years that it's credible. Some even say 1,000 years. Now, of course, we know no human institution will last 1,000 years. The Catholic Church does. I think some oyster production company in Japan does. But these are 2 out of millions and millions of institutions. So it's clear you need to have a clever approach for these very long time periods. But just saying, we don't care, we don't monitor anything, this is problematic. And unfortunately, a lot of lobbyists from those companies developing forestry activities was concentrated on the supervisory body. So supervisory body now decided to defer the issue. So we need to see how it will be dealt with in the future. One important aspect of Article 6 is the link between Article 6.2 and the voluntary carbon market. In principle, any host country government can accept any credits from any private program like Vera, like Gold Standard, and many other programs that you know. But of course, that's highly risky, because the quality of these credits may not be good. So the government may be exposed to a lot of criticism if it rubber stamps these credits. So that's why I would say Article 6.4 is way preferable to voluntary carbon market, also for Taiwanese business. Because with Article 6.4 you get a real quality standard. With voluntary carbon market you get a lot of different things, and many of them are not credible. Of course, Taiwan has a special situation. It's not a member of the UN, it's not a member of UNFCCC, but it can circumvent this. It can buy, the government can buy credits, private entities can buy credits, and you have, of course, your partner countries with whom you have diplomatic relations, for example, Paraguay or Guatemala or Palau, the small island states in the Pacific. So you see on the slide various approaches that the Taiwanese government can undertake, and I note their MOU with Paraguay. So thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Ms. Glowa. You are knowing Taiwan very well. So you give us a way that how we can use in Article 0.64 to have a market price, carbon market price with the global. Next, I will introduce the next speaker. He is Liu Zheliang. He is the research fellow at Zhonghua Institution for Economic Research. The floor is yours.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm so glad to share the Taiwan experience, how to use the carbon pricing to promote the low carbon transition. My name is Zheliang Liu and come from Taiwan Institution for Economic Research. And then it's a policy center in Taiwan. My team is working with the competent authority in Taiwan is the Ministry of the Environment to design and operate the carbon pricing system. Until now, the Taiwan carbon pricing system composed of two mechanisms. The first one is a mandatory one we call the carbon fee system. Another one is a voluntary one, is a Taiwan carbon crediting mechanism. And the mechanism is it have already implemented over 50 years. So during the process, we have several times consult with the Professor Michael Owa to improve our system. Okay, in this slide, we show that the challenge and institutional condition Taiwan faced. For example, in 2023, we promulgated the Climate Change Response Act, and then we give it a legal foundation for implementation of a carbon fee, a mandatory carbon pricing system. And then in 2023, most important is we try to promulgate a new national target to reach the net zero emission in 2050. It's a quite ambitious target. The major challenge is that our energy structure is composed of fossil fuel, over 80%. So it's kind of difficult for us to reach the net zero if there is no innovation technology. However, in response to the international call, so we just introduced the carbon fee system in this year, and launched it this year, because we try to accelerate the regulated entity to reduce their emissions. Okay, our carbon fee system just take a reference of various international case study because until now they have over 30 international carbon fee or carbon levy system. But however, we have some special design in Taiwan carbon fee system. For example, we apply a concept from the economic field called price discrimination. More specifically, if someone, the regulated entity, they just want to pay the money for compliance, and then they face a relative higher fee rate, we call the standard rate. And this standard rate will gradually increase. After the 2030, the expected fee rate will reach maybe a 40 to 60 USD per ton. So they give some financial burden to them to do the transition. However, if the regulated entity make a commitment to the competent authority, they want to reach the specific reduction target, and then deliver, we call the self-determined reduction plan to detail what they do to reach the target, and then they can use the discounted rate to pay the money. We call the preferential rate, okay? But the necessary condition for the applying of preferential rate is that you need to make a commitment to the competent authority. We need to make sure you invest to the reduction measures, okay? Aside from the preferential rate, we have another discount. Just take a reference from the international case. We call the high carbon leakage coefficient. Because we know that some industries, such like iron, steel, cement, and petrochemical products, they are hard to abandon industry. So to avoid the carbon leakage risk, we will give some discount for them. However, the necessary condition you apply this discount is you need to make a commitment to the competent authority. You will invest to reduce your emissions. So we have a lot of discount for them, but the condition is that you need to make a commitment, okay? So we found that until now, carbon fee system will cover over the 54% total emissions. What about the rest 45%? We will give a lot of ecology incentive, for example, the carbon crediting mechanism, or subsidize to the rest of 45%. However, the 55% is covered by the mandatory carbon fee system. Okay, there's the whole picture of the Taiwan carbon fee system, a carbon pricing system. The second part, we'll talk about the benefit and cost. Rather than benefit cost, we talk about the economic impact. During the design process, we prepare various impact assessment for different stakeholders because you need to know that every stakeholder, what their concerns are different. For example, for the general public, they don't care about how much GDP change. They don't care about how much the profit margin will lost. They only care about what is the living cost change, right? So for the general public, we need to tell them how much living cost will change. But you tell the industry how much living cost change, they don't care. They just care about how much production cost, or the profit margin will lost. So for different stakeholders, we prepare a different impact assessment for communication purpose, not for academic purpose. So first one, for industry, we try to simulate the impact to the profit margin on the different fee rate. We try to prove that if you make the commitment and deliver your reduction plan to the government, your impact will reduce significantly. So we try to give it an incentive for them, tell them you need to make, you better deliver your commitment to the.
What is S1 and S2?
S1 is doesn't take into account the high carbon risk coefficient discount. Yeah, only the preferential rate. But the S2, 2 discount. Yeah, something like that. Okay. So this is a full industry level. And then the second level is for higher officer level. For example, we try to convince the president, don't worry about the carbon fee system. They will not cause a huge impact to Taiwan economy. So according to our estimation result, we found that there might be the 0.02% percentage change in GDP. It's a quite trivial change, okay? The final part is the general public. The general public is just concerned about the living cost. For example, if we use the standard rate, and we assume a extreme scenario is that we assume all the regulated entity 100% pass on their cost to the commodity. We know that that is impossible in reality. However, we can, under this scenario, to find out the upbound impact to the living cost. We found that the CPI will change 0.08%. What does that mean? In Taiwan, they're roughly in the total cost, approximately equal to the 4 or 5 cups of Starbucks coffee in Taiwan. So I don't think there is an important impact to the household, unless you are a coffeeholic. Okay, so we prepare this material, for the communication purpose. We just tell every stakeholder, don't worry about the carbon fee system. It's to try to support the transition, not only for the cost increase. Okay, so that's a negative part. But what is the positive part? Our design is we try to give it the price discrimination to accelerate, to encourage they just make a commitment to the government. As a result, over 90% regulated entity, they have delivered their commitment and then deliver their self-determined reduction plan to the government. We think it is a preliminary successful result, okay, over 90%. And according to our estimation, it roughly can bring over 50 million ton reduction annually, okay? And then the next part is economic leverage effect. We just calculate, we just make a statistic calculator. We found that the data is from over 3,000 mitigation measures, just from gather the data from the self-determined reduction plan. Okay, we found that over 50% the reduction measure have negative cost. What is negative cost? Within the life cycle times, they can, for example, the revenue from the energy bill saving can cover the initial investment. We call the negative cost measures over 50%. Okay, but the rest 50%, including the purchase of green electricity in Taiwan, is quite expensive. And then low carbon fossil fuel switching, for example, from coal power shifted to the natural gas. It's quite expensive in Taiwan, of course. But however, it pointed out that the carbon fee system indeed brings some incentive for the regulated entity to invest. According to our statistic, we found that there are over 1,700 billion NTD will invest to reduction measures. And according to our model, this investment can leverage the supply chain order or the production value over the 1,400 billion NTD, and then create a so-called green job. Green job demand is over 300,000 green job. So the final conclusion is that we found that the carbon price system not just increase the cost. It's not just a real burden for everyone. It's also a driving force for green growth to accelerate the low carbon transition in Taiwan. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Liu. He gave a glance of the Taiwan carbon market because I'm from the industry. I really care about how that will a cost of our margin, and so I know when the government design all this mechanism or system, he need a lot of evidence to support. If they do that, that will give you nothing. Okay. Now next, I will have another speaker. He is Chen Wan Yu. He is from the TWIC. She is from the TWIC, and she is the COP30 delegation and the head of a mitigation team. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be here and represent Taiwan Youth Climate Coalition TWIC. And I will focus on the resilience of society today. So when we talk about climate resilience, we often think about how to recover from disaster, but it's also about the capacity to adapt, to anticipate, and the transform in the face of uncertainty. And in my opinion, one of the most important things for resilience is empowerment and capacity building. And these are also what TWIC has been doing through many years. And when individuals, especially young people, are equipped with the knowledge and skills, we can be more active. We can be active actors of change rather than passive victims of crisis. And we can also identify risks early, innovate locally, tailor solutions, and contribute meaningfully to collective climate action, and strengthen resilience and be better prepared to respond to climate challenges. And each year, TWIC brings together young people from different backgrounds, such as students, researchers, and young professionals. We share a common passion for climate action, and we are divided into small teams depending on our majors or professionals or our interests. Every team has its own facilitators who guide members through research studies or just discussions about what we're interested in. And we also encourage our members to actively engage in some hands-on projects and to connect our knowledge for real-world action. This way help young people to gain both technical understanding and soft skills from project management and communication to teamwork and critical thinking. TWIC doesn't just raise awareness, but also cultivates future leaders who can contribute to building a sustainable future. For example, many TWICers are TWIC alumni are now in the field of climate or eco-friendly NGOs, research teams, or working with policymakers or NGOs that help shape Taiwan a greener or more climate resilient society. And this year, TWIC has two major teams, the mitigation team and the adaptation team. And I'm in the mitigation team. We studied the Inflation Reduction Act, IRA, which is one of the most influential climate policies in recent years. And we learned how a strong policy framework can create an environment that supports climate-friendly projects while also benefiting the economy and the people. The IRA is an excellent example of how policy can drive systemic change, not only by just funding renewable energy projects, but also ensuring that these projects can create jobs, reduce inequality, and deliver real benefits to communities. And through our study, we learned how policy incentives can attract diverse groups, from local businesses to households, and to take part in pro-climate actions. Our team also branched into small groups based on their personal interests. And this year, our topics include youth empowerment and green jobs, sustainable food systems, and resource management and ocean protection. And one key insight we discovered is that many young people now aspire to pursue green jobs, especially in areas like sustainability consulting, environmental finance, and corporate ESG management. This shows a growing recognition that career development and climate action can go hand in hand. We believe that governments and corporations both have an important role to play. It will be ideal that the government keep investing in young people to help them with training programs, equipping young people with the skills and knowledge related to sustainability and environmental governance. And we're also welcome to see corporates hire well-trained young talents as sustainability strategists or advisors to help integrate environmental and social values into business operations. By doing this, we believe that it can not only create job opportunities for a younger generation, but also build a workforce capable of driving the green transition. Meanwhile, our adaptation team focuses on resilience from a different angle, looking at how communities can adapt to changing climate. Each member studied the hazards, vulnerabilities, and exposures in their own hometowns, learning how different communities are affected by climate risks, such as floods, droughts, or typhoons. After conducting a field study with a local NGO, the team discovered that adaptation efforts in Taiwan still tend to focus on infrastructure-based solutions, such as flood prevention or coastal protection projects. However, they also noticed significant challenges for local communities to genuinely participate in relevant decision-making processes. This gap can limit the effectiveness and inclusiveness of adaptation measures. Even so, TWIC strives to provide young people, our members, with the tools and frameworks for critical thinking. By equipping young people with the ability to analyze and understand adaptation from multiple perspectives, we empower them to see beyond physical measures and consider the social, cultural, and governance aspects that are equally vital to true climate resilience. And beyond our domestic initiatives, TWIC also engages in international climate advocacy and participation. Like here, we're attending COP, And before attending, we have to go through a lot of intensive trainings to understand how does this framework works. And we have to know a lot of negotiations and what key issues are being discussed under this on this global stage. During the COP, our delegates participate actively by attending negotiations, hosting side events, and engaging with international youth networks. We are also highly involved in YOUNGO, the official youth constituency of UNFCCC. And through YOUNGO, we collaborate with other young climate activists from around the world to amplify our voices and advocate for more ambitious climate actions. For many of our members, this experience is transformative. We gain not only knowledge about global governance, but also a sense of agency, realizing that even as youth from Taiwan, we can contribute meaningfully to the international conversation and bring back valuable information from the world. So when we look at all these things, they're all about empowerment for resilience. We hope to build resilience from learning, participation, and collaboration. So as we envision a sustainable and resilient future, we have to remember that policies and technologies alone are not enough. We need informed, motivated, and connected young people. And we are willing to lead the change. That's what TWIC is always striving to do. And we hope to build a stronger and resilient society in Taiwan and for the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chen. And next, I have Rose Yan. She is the director of the TRI, and he will give us the open governance and the climate information platform. The floor is yours, Mr. Yan.
Thank you. Hi. Okay, good. Good afternoon, everyone. And today I'm sharing a very different topic because our former speakers are talking about mitigation and adaptation, and I'm going to sharing one concept that can support mitigation and adaptation because as we know, like just the information shared by Dr. Liu and Dr. Michaelova, that some of the topics are relatively complicated but very important, and also shared by our youth. We know that many of groups are doing many actions on abating climate change. So this news just happened yesterday that a declaration on information integrity on climate change was just launched yesterday. And this is the first time that this topic of information integrity has been included in the COP agenda. So this declaration, it emphasizes that mobilizing all sectors of society, it requires the access to a consistent, reliable, accurate, and evidence-based information about climate change, which is very important. And if we can have this real information, what can we do? We have to raise awareness and foster public participation, enable accountability, and build public trust. So in this page, we can see that this year the information integrity was also included in the agenda. So this is one of the main things during these 2 days. So as you can see, there are many events other than this are talking about information integrity. And the second one is that I would like to introduce how this initiative was coming from. So there is a global initiative for information integrity on climate change. Initially, it can be briefed as GIICC. And then it raised the Information Integrity Declaration yesterday. So it can establish a shared commitment framework. And this declaration is not it's not a legally binding treaty text, but it can provide a foundation for the future incorporation into formal negotiation frameworks. So there are some informations about who participated in these declarations. And yesterday there are 12 countries endorsed this declaration around the world, including, of course, Brazil, Canada, Chile, and many countries. And also, there are members of GIICC that they can be the potential supporters of this declaration. And also, very importantly, it is supported by a financial mechanism, which is called Global Fund for Information Integrity on Climate Change. And the fund is a multi-partner trust fund under GIICC. So it has a initial 1 million contribution from Brazil's government. And it has already received more than 400 proposals, and it has launched its first project. So I would like to share some of our experiences about how we can accelerate true and real information. And I would like to introduce you some of the public platforms that provide climate change policy informations. The first one is that the climate information disclosure platform, and on this platform you can easily search for the policy documents and also the research reports published by the government, so that these information are verified by experts. And then you can also find the information of conferences and meetings talking about these policy documents, and also the meeting materials such as the slides and also the meeting minutes about it, so that you can understand easily and very well about how these policies, the formulation of these policies. And the second platform I would like to introduce to you is that there is a climate talks. The first website we provide is to the government to give real information to the public. And the second platform is trying to collect information and feedbacks from the public. So on the climate talks, they are separated into two functions. The first function is to, they will pick up some issues that are concerned by the public, such as the 2015 net zero goals, the pathways, or climate laws. And then they will elaborate these topics in a brief and easier way for people to understand. And then there will be a section that can collect opinions from the public at any time. And the third one, there is a COP30 participating in international climate action. So this kind of platform is just provided by issue, because during this time there are COP30, and we all know that the topics are complicated and there are so many topics, and progress is ongoing, so that the government, they can provide the daily report both in text materials and also in audio-visual materials like talking to the experts, so that everyone, they can get information from this website to very easily and in their own language to get to know the progress of the very important UNFCCC. So this is the last slide that I would like to share, that this information of climate change is actually happening. And so like just during COP these days, there are some people fabricating a official looking web pages, and they falsely advertise that it is a climate data collaboration partner recruitment program attempting to mislead and gain the public's trust. But it is false. So that it is very important that the government, they emphasize and provide official information through the formal governmental channels. Okay, so these are my sharing.
Thank you, Director Yan. Hello, yes, thank you, Director Yan. And I think the transition of society is a long journey. So that we have to, I think the 2 years ago, the UNFCCC, and not UNFCCC, they launched the integrity matter. So that we have to do a lot of work, progress to communicate with different people. And now the last I'm to go have the last speaker is Jack Huang. He also is the staff, the COP advisor. Okay, and he's working in UN. Okay, the floor is yours, Jack.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. So I don't have presentation. I will do very quick. I know everybody is a bit tired. So thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity to share my experience as well as how exactly the Staff United Fund will support the project globally. So I'm Jack, the consultant for the United Nations, but my duty mostly focusing on the digital transformation and how the digital transformation can support the climate change or climate action. And on the other hand, I wear two different hats. So I'm also the advisor for Staff United Fund, which is the headquarters in New York with its branch office all around the world. In Tokyo, in Taipei, in Paris, in Bangkok, and I think in Nairobi as well. So we try to support those not just charity issues, as well as the humanitarian issue, children education, or even the climate change. So we have been participated in different COP, from COP26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 this time. So I always try to make a joke. So every COP, especially from 26, 27, we always have the conclusion, and conclusion is always, let's have the discussion next time. So which means not conclusion. So unfortunately, we all understand this multilateral government, this mechanism, somehow facing a very challenging situation. So everybody has different opinion. Like developing country, they do really need more support in terms of technology, in terms of financing. But for the developed country, they also need to understand who should share more, how to allocate those limited resources, who can apply for what kind of item. So I believe that will be a very, very difficult topics to reach the consensus. So back to me, I work for the UN for more than 10 years, or about 10 years. So we have been observing so many different situations and different kind of conference. COP is one of them, and UNGA General Assembly is another. And also we have the end of this year with the UNEP environmental program. There will be another big event in Nairobi in Kenya. So all that activities, all that conference, eventually we want to reach something in together, which is we want to protect the earth. We want to protect our society. So echo to our topic this session, transitioning toward the sustainable society. The society, the environment, or all other kind of issue. So I will share two project example as I have been involved before, and then I will make a quick conclusion. So the first example is like talking about the climate change. So we all understand from the scientific data or from the research, from all the policy analysis, we understand the climate change because of the global warming. So what's the core reason of global warming? The carbon dioxide. So without doubt, besides Donald Trump, he doesn't believe that. But anyway, we believe that. Okay, as a normal person, I believe that. So global warming, because of the carbon dioxide, too much. Since like before the Industrial Revolution until right now, we reached the 400 ppm, and by the end of maybe 2030, we probably will reach 450 ppm about the carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. So which is bad, which is not good. So that's why we all need to working on how to reduce this kind of circumstance. So the first project I would like to bring is in Mongolia, which we work with UNDP, United Nations Development Program. Sorry, I didn't have the presentation. I tried to elaborate with my speaking. So in Mongolia in 2016, we try to support not just a renewable revolution, I mean in that developing country. So most of the Mongolia, the people, the household or the industry over there, 80% rely on the fossil fuel to provide their energy. So we are thinking, why don't we have the renewable solution for those people, especially in not the urban region, but the suburban region? So we select several households as a pilot project. From 2016 to 2019, we try to support them to build the solar panel on the rooftop with the traditional Mongolian house. You can imagine the traditional Mongolian house, on the top, there's a solar panel. So how to make that sustainable? Because of course, people cannot afford. Remember what the SDG number 7 talk about us. It's affordable, clean energy. Not just clean, but also affordable. So for those people in developing country, in Mongolia, our pilot project, we try to build the case study or the pilot mechanism with UNDP. If we can link the carbon emission reduction with the carbon credit, somehow very similar to Arctic 6.4 or 6.2, but still different fundamentally. If we can link the renewable energy, in that world we have the renewable energy certificate, like we call REC, renewable energy certificate. How can we calculate that renewable energy certificate into the carbon credit? In that way, we can create something tradable. So for those Mongolian traditional house, on the top of the roof, there's a solar panel. It's generated renewable energy. And by the end, every year, we try to measure it and report it to calculate into certain carbon credit and somehow certified by UNDP or other UN agency. And then we can sell those carbon credit, even though we still don't have this global market. But we sell that to like Microsoft, to Amazon, or to other, other big company which emit a lot. So they pay for this carbon credit to offset their own emission. In that way, we somehow can create a sustainable business model. We always emphasize the business model because if you always rely on donation, which is not sustainable, people somehow rich, they donate, but once the economy is not good, they don't donate anymore. So in that way, the solar panel on the rooftop of a Mongolian house, they can generate not just energy, clean energy, but also the carbon credit. And through this United Nations case study or the pilot project, we sell to Microsoft. And then we can get the revenue. Somehow, those revenue can compensate the company who provide this construction, to provide the material or provide the solar panel, etc. So that's the first case, and we hope to kind of copy and pass to different regions. Not just in Mongolia. If Mongolia can prove that be successful, why don't we put that into Africa, into Middle East, or even some developed country? We still have the developing region in developed country, right? Like United States, New York, California, okay, good enough. But how about Mississippi? How about Tennessee? How about the middle state of the state? So we can try to put that in different regions. So that's the first case. And the second case, still about the renewable, because we try to reduce the carbon emission. So fossil fuel, we need to kill that. We try to introduce more solar, wind, and biomass or whatever. So the second case, that's in Turkey. So between the border between Turkey and Syria, there are a lot of refugees even though the Syrian civil war is now ended, but somehow the refugee issue, the humanitarian issue is still there. So within those refugee camps, what they really need? Of course, they need money, they need food, they need medical care, but they also need energy. Without energy, all those servers cannot really put into the on site. So no energy, how to provide the surgery, no energy, how to cook food, no energy, how to reading, how to provide the education. So energy kind of the fundamental for all the foreign aid. So we also try to use this kind of very similar concept for the rooftop of the solar panel. If we can also put that on the top of the refugee tent, but that's more difficult. So in that kind of case, eventually, we are not exactly able to calculate that into the carbon credit because of the so many difficulties on site. But at least we work with the New York University, the team over there, we can calculate with this solar panel facility on the top of the refugee camp, we can reduce 80% of the carbon emission. So that's really remarkable. And that we also want to share to everybody. So last but not least, let me use a quick story to end my presentation. I want to take this one as well. So I always try to communicate with people, not just for the stakeholder, but also the young generation, or even the professor, or all the people around me. So let me share this story to all of you. So anyone can tell me what is that? Water, okay? The bottle of water, or boxes of water. So what does that mean? That is the bottle of the water. It's an information, right? All of us, we can observe that. That's a fact. The bottle of water is an information. So echo to what you say, the integrity of the information. So what if I further elaborate it's a bottle of water? At the 0 degree is freeze, become the ice, and the 100 degree is evaporate, become the steam. And what that will be? That's beyond the information. That's called knowledge. So we have so many information and we conclude because of our observation and we conclude as a knowledge. Water, 0 degree, the ice, and 100 degree becomes steam. So let me further elaborate. Information, knowledge, and what if I keep saying this is the water, 0 degree become the ice, 100 degree become the steam, and in the summertime, I make the ice to have my own startup to sell the ice cream. And in the summertime, I use this knowledge to cook the hot soup to serve the homeless people. And what is that? That will become the wisdom. So in COP30 or even COP28, 29 or whatever, so many different conferences, we have so many information. And maybe because of the professor, all the researcher, we have so many valuable knowledge. But what makes the things more important? We need the wisdom to make the something happen in field, to make the something happen in the real action. Not just talk and post on Instagram and all those beautiful photos, but we really need every community, every single person to do something in the real world. So thank you very much. That's my presentation.
Thank you, Jack. And now I'm going to have the panel session, and then I have to invite all of the speakers on the stage, and maybe the ex-speaker Wang will sit here, and Liu, and Dr. Liu, and Miss Chen, and Rosian, and Jack, I will sit here. Hi. We got a lot of information from all of us, like the professor and the Dr. Liu. And now the first question I want to ask the Dr. Miklova. And let me show you. Okay. Which sector in Taiwan hold the greatest potential to lead a cross-border mitigation project with the next 5 years if the Article 6.4 is really come true in your point of view? Yes?
Yes, of course, Taiwan is a rich country. Taiwan will not sell Article 6 credits to other countries. It will have difficulty in reaching its NDC. So Taiwan should have a pure buyer strategy. It needs to identify which of partner countries have credible credits. I actually supported government of Paraguay 2 years ago in defining their roadmap to Article 6. And it was very interesting because Paraguay is an unusual country. It has very strong lobbies of forestry. And of course, it has very narrow group of very elite institutions at the top of the state. So that, of course, is a challenging situation because you may get activities that eventually could become problematic. So I actually had really to fight hard to actually have what I presented to you, to push for a high quality strategy so that Paraguay doesn't just now sell forestry credits that are calculated according to the so-called art trees or Vera, because that has been problematic in the past. So I would hope that now the collaboration between Paraguay and Taiwan is based on level of high integrity. For example, methane reduction in the agriculture sector. This could be a very strong potential in Paraguay. Paraguay is a huge livestock sector. And of course also has a big sector of domestic waste management. For example, the landfill in the capital Asunción is very big, but they have not tried to capture landfill gas so far. So I would hope that Taiwan develops robust strategies of collaboration with its partner countries, and that also business associations like TCP don't push, oh, this should all be very simple and not too stringent. Because if you do this, after a few years, you will see what I showed on my roller coaster slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Miklova. We really feel that the Article 6.4 is really crucial to Taiwan. And the next question I want to ask Mr. Liu, and as Taiwan carbon fee system is launched, take shape, how can we design pricing and the reduction budget mechanism that drive decarbonization without triggering carbon leakage?
Okay, first of all, I need to emphasize everything has its price, right? No free lunch. Everything is a trade-off. So according to the international case study, we found that if you want to avoid the carbon leakage, I mean industry, not avoid the industry, just move to the overseas production or production replacement. And then the measure they usually adapt is that we just give a free allocation, explanation, something like that, to lower down their financial burden, and then they will not move, okay? But the trade-off is that our price is that if you have give some financial burden, they have no incentive to reduce their emission, okay? There's two sides. But in Taiwan, we try to overcome this. Sometimes we call the attribute of environmental tax or environmental levy. One attribute of environmental tax or levy is that the reduction effect is uncertain, right? But in Taiwan design, we try to we have we call the preferential rate and standard rate. We call the price discrimination. We just tell the regulated entity if we want to pay the money, lower money for your obligation, and then you just make a commitment to the competent authority. And the competent authority found that you are make effort in reduction, and I don't want to charge money to you because my purpose is to accelerate everyone to do the low carbon transition, not obtain the money from you, right? There's no meaning. Of course, someone will argue that you can give them a higher fee rate. They have a pressure, so they will reduce their emission, and at the same time, the government can obtain a lot of money. We can use the money for the just transition or something like that. But you need to know that if you just ask the regulated entity to invest much money to do some low carbon transition, at the same time, you will obtain a lot of money from them. they will huge impact to them. So I think there is no best policy instrument. They only a feasible or acceptable policy instrument. Okay, that's my some opinion about that.
Okay, thank you your opinion, because the industry will struggle when the policy make to strike to them. And the next question I will ask the youth. You are come from the TWIC and Mr. Chen, and I know you are trying to collaborate with the society and the local government or something local community. Can you give us some perspective like how can youth can initiate leverage in green finance or to driven a local innovation? Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I think for a lot of young people, they have many creative ideas, or they want to launch some projects, but they don't have the resources. And for many of them, it's hard for them to get access to financial support. And a few days ago, like before COP30 begins, there's the COP20 happened, and TWIC held an event and side event. There were a lot of young people from different countries. They also talked about how they feel about this difficulty, that it was really hard for them to get access to sufficient financial supports, because a lot of maybe green finance, they were made for big corporations, or it's easier for large companies or large organizations to get access to those finance. So it's really hard for like students or young professionals to really get access to like green finance or financial help. So when they have some ideas, they really need the help. And I think it's really important that maybe our governments or some big institutes like research institutes or other private sectors, or maybe some foundations or from financial sectors can really offer more opportunities to these young talented people to do more things and collaborate with the local communities to help with climate change. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think it's very, very, very important that every stakeholder to collaborate with each other. And the next, I want to ask Dr. Yan, as you are in a think tank, can you describe how the open government to transparency and the trust on how can the open government enhance cross-sector cooperation, not only cross-sector like the government and the private sector, for more efficient and monitor under the mitigation?
Thank you for your asking. And first of all, I would like to say that we have already made a solid progress recently in publishing emission data, factors, and public policies, as I have mentioned in my presentation. And if we can provide a more shared data, I think because open data is one thing that you made data or informations open, but if you can standardize it and coordinate data, then I think it will make more influence for many people, such as if the business and the citizens, if they can get a consistent and verified information for mitigation, it will help a lot for them to communicate with each others when choosing the different technologies for mitigation and also adaptation.
Thank you, Dr. Yan. And then the next question I want to ask Jack Huang, as your experience in UN system, like you mentioned the solar panel project, is there any specific project that urgent need to particular from the ICT or the new technology? If so, which will be that?
Thank you for that question. For the ICT and technology, honestly, in this kind of department, it's always consume the energy. So, which as maybe people all know, the AI, the data center, the database, they all consume a lot of kind of energy. Doesn't matter it's from the renewable energy or fossil fuel-based energy. So what we observe, of course, is still on the theory, but not yet in happening in the real world. So let's talk about the AI. So if the AI will be the next 10 years, the major technology for all industry, for all government, or even for the all societies. So the data center will be the very crucial, the energy consuming unit in the world. And it doesn't matter which country. So how to cool down and how to make that kind of data center lower its energy consumption will be the critical issue. So there are two different ways. The first way, from the software perspective. So as an ICT department, we also work with all these big companies like NVIDIA, like Microsoft, how to have the new kind of mechanism or the new algorithm to calculate this kind of computing power. So in that way, you can achieve the same performance of the AI, doesn't matter Sora, ChatGPT, or Gemini, but you can use less energy. With the renewable, that's the better, or still be in the fossil fuel. So that's for one thing. And another thing is more even, I would say, surprised me. So the data center, most of the energy is cooling down, is heat. So how to make the environment for that data center is cool per se. So why don't we build the data center under the sea, on the seabed? Or that's the initiate from Microsoft. Or from the Japanese government, they even think, why don't we have the database outer space? And then you can still transfer the data or the signal back to the Earth. So that's kind of very interesting technology, but which costs a lot. So still need to think about, yes, we need to pay some attention for the eco-friendly, for this environmental issue, but on the other side, it's still the business issue. How can we make the cost down, and how do we make that more possible? So that's my answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jack Huang. And the last, I want to ask everyone one question. If you want to have a transition to a sustainable society, give a sentence how to do that. Quick sentence.
Can you repeat the question?
Okay, give a sentence and how can we transition to a sustainable society? Give a sentence.
Well, the policy makers will only react to introduce mitigation policies if the civil society is pushing. Of course, Taiwan has a very vibrant civil society, so I would hope that Taiwanese civil society pushes government to be serious, for example, with regard to the carbon fee. I, of course, see a lot of exemptions, so carbon fee may not yet really lead to a significant mitigation. So I would hope that we'll see some demonstrations. And yeah, I was in Taipei when the NGOs were surrounding Parliament building, and I was very impressed how peaceful and very well organized civil society is in Taiwan.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Liu?
One sentence.
It can be long. No, not too short. It's okay.
As we know that climate change is so-called cross-border environmental issue. So the sentence for me is that addressing the climate change, we need to go together and we have an opportunity to successful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. From youth, one sentence.
Okay. The first sentence that pops in my brain is that if climate is changing, why don't we?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yan.
Only one sentence?
2 or 3, it's fine.
Okay, I'd like to elaborate. I'd like to echo the the topic presented today that information is very important, not only to open it, but to make the information meaningful, that raise the awareness that the cost and benefit is links to yourself, and just like Jack said, that make the fact more than a fact, make it a wisdom. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jack.
Okay, one sentence, very quick. Every big action starts from the small step. So let's move the first step.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all of the speakers and the panelists joining us this session. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.